Hi everyone. Today I'm handling topic 3 of operations management in practice, and this topic is about operations planning and control. Where there is planning, you'll be very careful to find there is an element of control, because you cannot plan without control. Control is the element that helps you understand whatever I planned, did it go as planned or it did not. That is the control element. So anytime we look at planning, we don't forget to look at control, because they go hand in hand. So here we shall look at the planning part. What do you plan for? And at the end of the day, what do you control? Because we have to control what we are planning. So of course, the basic terms, the benefits of planning and control, the functions of operation planning, capacity planning, demand forecasting, all that is part of planning. If I'm doing demand forecasting, I am planning. I am planning for demand. I can be able to look ahead and see how much demand is likely to be there in the next few months, so that I can plan for that demand. So every element in this topic will enable us to be able to understand the planning part and the control part. Balancing supply and demand, production strategies to meet demand, all these are topics or subtopics that we shall be able to look under operations planning and control. Of course, we shall start with the basic terms in planning and control. What is an operation plan? What is operations control? I've already talked about that. What is forecasting? Because forecasting is part of planning. When you're forecasting demand, it means you're planning for demand. Capacity planning, very critical area in operations management. Scheduling is a part of a plan, because as you come up with a schedule, you're coming up with a plan on how you will produce something, at what periods of time, in what quantities. That is now a schedule. So scheduling is part of planning. Loading, sequencing, expediting, all those are some of the terminologies you shall be able to meet. Of course, we shall start with benefits of planning and controlling. You understand, at every level of planning and controlling, there are benefits that come, like it ensures optimum utilization of capacity. If I plan and I have capacity, then it means I am planning to make sure that capacity is just utilized normally. It is not overutilized, it is not underutilized. It ensures inventory levels are maintained at optimum level, just enough inventory. You don't go beyond, you don't go below. Those are some of the benefits of planning. It ensures that the production time is kept at optimal level. You do not have a lot. You do not produce today a lot, tomorrow you're going to produce lesser than. So that is the importance of a schedule. A schedule is a form of a plan. When I come up with a schedule, I can be able to know tomorrow we are producing this quantity. It also helps you to deliver products on time. It reduces investment in inventory. You know, if you do not plan, what will happen? You'll keep a lot of stock just in case. And that just in case is not always good, because you can end up overstocking. So it reduces investment in inventory. It ensures a smooth production flow process. You can be able to see it is flowing because raw materials are available, machines are there, people are available. So it means the production process flows smoothly. It ensures you save on costs, so many costs. It reduces wastage of resources. So those are some of the benefits of planning and control, because we said they go hand in hand. Functions of operation planning. If you're telling us you're doing operation planning, what should be there? Resource allocation. I put these resources here. I put these resources here. That is resource allocation. It is a very big part of planning. Production scheduling can be able to say, this month, this is how much you shall be able to produce. Next month, that is production scheduling, and it is part of planning. Demand forecasting. I look into the future to be able to see how much demand is likely to be there in the future, and then I can plan for that demand. That is an aspect of planning. Inventory management, I plan how much to buy, how much to store. That is inventory planning. Capacity planning, how much to produce in terms of numbers. Facility location and layout, that should be a plan that you had long time. Where do I locate my facility and how do I arrange my facility? That is now the layout. So location and layout. And then cost control. You have to monitor and manage the costs that you incur in your business setup. So you need to have the cost control aspect of planning. Quality assurance is also another aspect. Supply chain management, risk management. You have to plan for risks. And that's why you have to identify risks. After identifying risks, you need to manage the risk. That is planning on the part of risks. And then continuous improvement. Workflow planning. You plan for the workers that you have. Equipment maintenance and replacement. You plan for maintaining equipment. You plan for replacement. After an equipment has served you for a certain duration of time, it wears out. So you should plan to be able to do what? To replace it. Integration with other departments. So everything in an organizational setup requires planning. But we've just mentioned some few areas in operations management where you cannot afford to miss to have a plan. Environmental and sustainability planning. You also plan for environment and you also plan for sustainability. Sustainability means, can I be able to sustain my business in the current situation or the current way it is operating for a long future or for a future period of time? That is what you call sustainability planning. And then we come to capacity planning, a very important part of planning. Can we be able to manage how much we produce? Capacity planning, it should be the biggest type of plan done in operations management, especially if you're dealing with a product or a service. So it means you have to plan for the capacity, ensure that whatever machines you have, whatever human resource, whatever finances, whatever materials you have are enough to be able to give you the capacity that you require. So here we shall see the different types of strategies: lead strategy, lag strategy, match strategy. They are just strategies that will help you to do capacity planning. We have long-term capacity planning and short-term capacity planning. The difference is just the duration of time. We can do capacity planning for a short period of time, like 6 months and below, and we can be able to do capacity planning for a long period of time. So that is the difference between short-term and long-term. And then there are also measures of capacity. You measure capacity in two different ways: the efficiency of the capacity and the utilization of the capacity. We shall see the difference. Efficiency of the capacity. Efficiency, let me just mention, efficiency compares actual output against standard capacity or budgeted capacity. So I budgeted to produce this and this is the actual output. If I compare the two, then I'm talking about efficiency capacity. Efficiency of the capacity, actual output versus the budgeted capacity. Utilization, it is just the ability to compare actual output and rated capacity. You know, every machine usually comes up with the rated capacity. Maybe a machine can produce 10,000 pieces per hour. But how much are we utilizing out of the 10,000? Because companies may not always produce 10,000 or the maximum of that particular machine, but they can produce maybe 3,000 per day. So what is the relationship between the actual output and the rated capacity? That is what we call utilization. How much you're utilizing your machine. It can be able to give you 10,000, but how much are you producing using that machine that can give you 10,000? If you're producing 5,000, if you're producing 3,000, we can be able to say you're producing below the capacity or within the capacity, depending with how much you can be able to to produce. So that is it with those two. I wanted to emphasize on the two so that you can be able to understand factors that determine capacity: process design, product variety, product quality. All that will determine the capacity. Materials management, maintenance, production scheduling, all those factors will be able to help you understand what capacity, or it will be able to determine the capacity that you produce. Then after capacity planning, we go to demand forecasting. We shall do some bit of demand forecasting to see how you forecast demand, because we said demand forecasting is one of the major elements in planning, because you cannot produce what you cannot be able to forecast. Whatever usually comes into an order is, number one, the forecasted demand, and number two, whatever has been actually ordered for. So I cannot only produce what customers have ordered for, because there are those who have not ordered, but they will order after the product has been produced. So I need to do demand forecasting. So if the orders come 300, I also need to add there the figure for forecasting demand, or the forecasted demand figure, so that I don't produce only 3,000 for the actual orders, unless I'm dealing with the just-in-time system, where I have to wait for an order for me to be able to produce. But if I'm not waiting for an order, there is the actual order that comes, and therefore the forecasted order. So I need to put them together, be able to produce that. So it means demand forecasting is an important element of planning. If you do not plan for demand forecasting, then it means you will produce low or less than whatever the market requires. So you need a lot of information about demand forecasting. So demand forecasting, objectives of forecasting. We shall look at classification of business forecasts. How do you forecast? You can forecast based on the object, based on the time, where we have short-term, mid-term, and long-term forecasts. And then we look at the elements of a good forecast. Remember, forecasts are never 100% accurate, but they can be made to come near accurate. So elements of a good forecast: timely, reliable, accurate. Types of forecasting, we shall focus on two: qualitative and quantitative methods. How do you forecast? So we shall look at the qualitative methods and quantitative. Once we are done with that, time series, all those are types of forecasting or methods you can use for forecasting. And then lastly, we look at inventory planning and control. Remember, we started with capacity planning. And then capacity planning, we looked at how much you can be able to produce. And then we went ahead and looked at demand forecasting. And now we are looking at inventory planning. You have to plan for the inventory, both the one that is in store and the one that you've not yet even ordered for. So inventory planning and control, very critical in operations management. And here we shall look at inventory planning. Why do you hold inventory? Reasons for keeping inventory. Inventory costs, because if you keep inventory, you will incur costs. Which are these inventory costs? And then after inventory costs, objectives of inventory control, very important areas. And then we go to balance supply and demand. Can we be able to balance supply and demand? If yes, how do we do it so that we can be able to balance supply and demand? Strategies for balancing supply and demand. What can we be able to do to balance supply and demand? And by the time we get to there, we shall be almost done. We look at the last part, which is production strategies to meet demand. What strategies can we employ in production so that we can be able to meet demand? We shall look at them. There are three major strategies: the level strategy, the chase strategy, and the mixed strategy. So very critical strategies to be able to understand. By the time we are done with that, we shall be done with planning and control in operations management. Remember to focus on 3 major areas of planning: capacity planning. Understand what is capacity planning, how do you go about it. Then go to demand forecasting. How do you forecast demand? What methods do you use? What is the importance of forecasting demand? And then lastly, inventory control and inventory planning and control. You plan for every inventory in your organization, whether you have it in your store or it is in the books or it is with the suppliers. You have to plan for it. If you plan all those 3 areas, then you'll be good to go in operations management, because apart from those 3 areas, there could be other areas of planning, but if you make sure you have done the 3 major areas, then operations management becomes easy to undertake once planning is complete. So that is it for now.